not an occupation. It has a negative connotation.
Klingons make great warriors, but terrible doctors.
Are you trying to insult me?
Even amongst servants, someone has to be in charge.
I'm so glad that you find the lack of proper medical facilities amusing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Star Trek DS9, Season 6, Episode 1, A Time to Stand, because a Dominion ship has not been designed with chairs. That's why you have to stand. But it's been over since 1997. We're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch, as we continue our multi-year journey to rewatch every episode of DS9 and review and talk about it, review it, and move on to the next one. So we're into Season 6. I'm Dave Mader. We got Kevin Millard. How you doing tonight, Kevin?
Good.
And we got Jeff Mader in his backyard with a sweater. No computer still.
That's right. Renovation is taking place, though.
The renovations are taking place. It's like you're living on the Defiant for 5 weeks without any sleep, Jeff.
That's right. It's appropriate.
Yeah, it's very appropriate. Sam says hello.
Hey, Sam.
Hello, Sam.
Hello, Sam. We're here to talk A Time to Stand. And let's get into this.
Stand with us, Sam.
Yeah. So, guys, we should all just take a moment to remember Brandon Tartikoff, who this episode was dedicated to. Apparently, an executive at Paramount who suggested Deep Space Nine be a stationary show originally. So we owe that to Brandon Tartikoff, who apparently had passed away before this episode aired. Guys, as we were, what Jaemeel just messaged, what's he saying? My computer won't start. Trying to troubleshoot. Might have to jump on via my phone. Do what you need to do.
I'm on the phone. Your phone?
Yeah. No. You know what I would say to that, Jaemeel?
Do what you need to do.
That's right. Kevin doesn't understand that reference, but it's okay.
Oh, I understand it.
Guys, when we last saw the Defiant and the Rotaran, for that matter, they were joining a massive Federation fleet. And we were joined here about 3 months later, I guess. It's been about 3 months since the war has kicked off. And we see the Defiant and other ships here. They're badly beaten. They're battered. They're limping home. We see this Excelsior class ship needs to be towed home. We see like various what look almost like Maquis fighters kind of around. We'll see them in some of the later fighters, but we know they're not technically Maquis fighters because the Maquis are gone by this point, but it's kind of like their style ships. Looking rough, and so is Cisco for that matter, guys. They're running away from the Jemadar, and it looks like we lost them, right? And I guess they are, but O'Brien, he's not having it, guys. He's not too impressed with the situation. All this engage, retreat.
3 months of bloody slaughter, and what have we got to show for it? Not a damn thing. I guess they got tired of looking at our backs. Engage, retreat. Just once, I would have liked to have gotten a look at their backs.
Chief, that's enough.
Sorry, sir.
So basically, O'Brien's got a thing for the Jem'Hadar.
Yeah, pretty much.
I used to hate the Cardis, but now I hate the Jemmies. Or the Hardys.
And
the
also the Cardis.
The Cardis and the Hardys.
Kill a few Cardis, as Garrick would tease him. So Dax, she says they haven't slept in 72 hours. And they need to kind of get a shower. And can the 14th fleet or something like that? One of the other fleets is going to engage the Jem'Hadar and the Dominion somewhere else. And can they stop them? And he says, "Damn right they can. Somebody has to." Spoilers: they don't.
They do not.
They do not stop them. Some good news. We come down here to I guess this would be the sick bay or somewhere in the lower decks of the Defiant, and Garrick is looking for Bashir, who is not too excited. He's like, I got 12 guys who are in critical condition, Garrick, and Garrick's banged his head against a wall while they got attacked or something, a bulkhead. Anyway, so Garrick's got a lot of things here, saying it's not going to matter too much. None of them are going to live to old age.
But the way this war is going, I wouldn't bet on any of us living to a ripe old age.
Yeah. He starts like giving Bashir heck about, what are our chances of actually surviving here?
What are our chances? Over 50%? 32.7. I'm sorry I asked.
This is also the beginning of sort of a gritty Bashir.
Yeah.
Like he's not like happy-go-lucky at all. He's like, no, fuck this war. I hate this shit.
And he's also like more like Spock now because he can like just like do all these calculations in his head and just basically act as the computer.
I might as well use what I have.
He could calculate the odds of Fizbin for sure.
She sure could. They're astronomical. What's the odds of getting a double Fizbin? Well, he's kind of like he's not so fascinated with Garrick at this point in their relationship. He's just like, whatever, Garrick.
Are you trying to insult me?
Something here. He's like, what about his boyish smile? Garrick says, not so boyish anymore, I'm afraid, Doctor. Anyway, here we got Cisco. He's talking to Dax. Where are we going to be sent next? And Cisco's like, send me to the front lines. Get me out of there. I'm ready to go. And Martok then shows up, and I will be by your side. Worf shows up. Dax is very happy, and he's like, "Are you not going to tell her, Worf?" Martok says this. He goes, "Well, it can wait."
It can wait. No, it cannot.
It cannot.
He's irritated Martok so much.
Yeah.
All he talked about probably for like 2 weeks.
It's like 5 weeks or something. It's been a lot. Yeah. It's crazy to me still that Worf isn't serving on the Defiant, throughout this, all these events, and he's over with Martok throughout all of this. But
they want to give Jadzia command, right? They can't do that if Worf is on the ship.
But why do they want to give Jadzia command?
So she'll
the
stay.
writers, anyway. I don't know in the story.
I feel like at this point they're still negotiating whether she's going to be back for season 7, and I don't think that they'll know she's getting killed off at the end of this season until much later.
No, that seemed very abrupt.
Yeah,
that didn't seem written in.
Right. Like I think that the writers intended, or were expecting that Terry Farrell would continue with the show into 7, right? And that obviously didn't happen, but it was just kind of interesting here. And Worf is not happy about the wedding plans, guys.
It is about our wedding. You have scheduled the ritual sacrifice of the Targ to occur after the wedding feast has been served.
First we'll shed blood and then we'll feast.
As it should be.
You can hear the like he's like, you're damn right. That's what's expected. Exactly.
At least there's something that's making Cisco smile throughout all of this. Are these two?
Just laughing at Martok and Worf and Dax.
Right.
Martok is one of my favorite characters for sure.
No, it cannot.
It's so great.
But can't you just imagine like Cisco's gonna have a conversation with Dax and goes, remember that time when you got married to Worf and you just totally just dicked him around?
Yeah.
Because this was like your how manyth wedding that you've gone through. You didn't particularly care. You were just doing that just to mess with his head.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, maybe Ezri would admit to it. But Cisco says, you should have a small wedding, Jadzia, because of course, that's what Cisco likes. And she says, I'll get married the way I want to get married. She says to Cisco. He says, try not to break any bones, as they go to have a romp, I guess, in a bunk bed, I would imagine, somewhere. And and Cisco's happy for it. Anyway, Martok, he's really, the reason he's really here is to see a doctor.
Klingons make great warriors, but terrible doctors.
This is when Bashir shows up, but before he can treat anything with Martok, he has to talk about the Seventh Fleet or whatever it is. I have news,
one of my favorite line deliveries of Bashir's is, "We can't keep taking casualties like this." Like when he, I don't know if you have that one, Dave. But
Oh, you know I do.
We can't keep taking these kinds of losses, sir. Not if we expect to win this.
yeah,
Not if we expect to win this.
Yell at Cisco. See how that works out for everyone.
Cisco just turns and puts his hand to his face and just like, "Oh, Bashir, shut up."
I can't believe I'm taking shit off my doctor about.
Yeah.
And also, why is Bashir looking so disheveled?
Like, you're right.
Because he doesn't have a sick bay. He's using his own quarters, and it's hard to sleep when there's so many medical supplies all over the place.
Look,
Well,
this is the end of the goofy Bashir. This is the serious, sexy, dark, mysterious Bashir era.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. Cisco's like, run along now, and go be a doctor or whatever, which so Bashir takes off. But you see, like, Martok lingering on Cisco. He's like, "You can't lose hope, Ben." Not that I don't think he would ever call him Ben, but he's kind of a linger here. Get the arm treated, and Cisco's pissed. He's not happy about this news, guys. He breaks this table. Anyway, that's the cold open. That's how we start season 6, right? And then we go over to the Dominion station. I got this really long clip here because we get Ducat's version of a captain's log to start this off.
Permanent documentation file, Ducat, SG. Each day brings reports of new victories. The war continues to go well. The enemy is retreating on almost all fronts. It's only a matter of time before the Federation collapses and Earth becomes another conquered planet under Dominion rule. All in all, it's a good time for Cardassia. And the Dominion.
I agree with what you said, Dave, because this is one of my favorite things in this episode is that they did that. And because you don't normally see that from like Star Trek villains or, it's always from the Federation ship captain's point of view. And I loved it because it's like, I think they should have done more of this stuff later as well in Voyager and stuff.
Right. We also find out that Ducat's initials are SG, but we don't actually know what his I guess, first name would be. But some non-canonical sources have it as Skrain. Skrain. Anyway, yeah, no, really cool way to start. Ducat, the full-on villain of this series, and of course we got more Weyoun here. Weyoun talking to Major Kira in the boardroom. He's like, "Isn't it wonderful, Ducat? There's going to be children on the promenade, and the Bajorans are coming back." And Ducat's like, "Yeah, I'm well aware of it." He's like, "Isn't it great? Isn't it the best news you've ever heard?" He's going to say, and then Damar is like, "I'm going to get more security officers for these Bajorans." Right? He's like, "Oh, is that really a necessary precaution? We're all friends here, aren't we?" But you can just see the way that Damar and Kira glare at each other, that they are not friends, although they will be sort of become friends by the very end of this, ironically enough, but they don't start off like that, especially at this particular point in them knowing each other. But Weyoun's trying to cut through all that. He's just here for positivity, bring everything together. He'd rather the Bajorans be happy. He'd rather play that more political game, right? Make the Dominion look good. Whereas Ducat and Damar are much more like pragmatic about everything, and they just want to.
Yeah, and they don't even hide the fact that they want to subjugate Bajor again. It's not just the station. They want to go to the planet and take it over.
Right. Everything that was Cardassia's will be regained.
Yeah.
That was Ducat's promise, and I think that's very much what they have on their mind, but they know that they have to play nice with the Dominion, and they can't necessarily overstep, right? So that's the only thing kind of keeping them in line. Anyway, Kira is... You got to give it to Kira, and I guess Odo and Quark, maybe less so to Jake, with his...
It's Jake.
Jake Sisko, remember me?
Yeah, we remember. And that they had to stay behind on the station under like this kind of scary time, I guess. While the station is occupied. I know
it's not an occupying force.
This is not an occupation.
Right. I'm sorry.
This is a Cardassian station.
Right. Anyway,
they are our friends.
We're all friends here. A lot of just like the mutual loathing going on between everybody involved is fun to watch. Even though because they're very much not all friends. And then but Weyoun stops and goes, "Will you tell Odo that I really like him and I'm doing whatever I can to please him? Please." And she's like, "I guess. Sure."
Why don't you just tell him?
Why don't you tell him? And he's like, "Oh no.
No.
I don't want to bother him."
Yeah, but you can bother him for me. That would be
I wouldn't want to impose.
I wouldn't want to impose.
The original.
Is that Jaemeel? You're muted. And then what is Dukat says like what a woman, but Weyoun says I wouldn't know. That's not what Weyoun's into here. Anyway, but Weyoun gets really mad at Damar in this scene because Damar starts saying something or jabbering on about something. He's like, "You could go. I don't take your shit. Get the hell out of here." He's like, "Don't look at Dukat. Leave."
It was because like Damar was trying to team up with Dukat to like overrule him, and he was like, I'm not gonna let you do that. That's kind of what happened.
Yeah, he was just like, "I'm tired of your little fucking comments. Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah, and you're not gonna 2-on-1 me. Like it's not.
Weyoun hates his guts, which makes it interesting that Damar will succeed Dukat in this role, right?
Yeah.
But Dukat says, "I find him useful," and then they talk about the minefield and the fact that Dukat hasn't been able to bring down the minefield that they had put up at the end of season 5, that it's too complicated, but they're working on it. Weyoun kind of points out the fact they're running out of Ketracel White, and without the White, we're not going to win the war without resupplying that particular thing. So yeah, like definitely. They got their own issues on the bad guy side of this conflict, but these characters are rich and fully understood, which is what makes it so interesting that we can flip between all these different settings in season 6. Anyway, down to the Dabo table where the Cardassians are playing, and I guess some other aliens who are coming through. But I don't get these Jem'Hadar, Jeff. Like they just show up at the station and they sit at Quarks and they don't do anything.
It doesn't seem to make much sense.
Why do they come here?
Yeah, they seem like the kind of folks that would just hang out in their quarters and wait to go to sleep.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
they don't sleep.
They don't sleep. They don't drink. What? Wouldn't they just want to go to the Hollow Suites to like practice combat at least?
I was thinking in this episode, like to me, like the Jem'Hadar are kind of like a metaphor for like super paid mercenaries that like that's kind of like just cold murderers that don't really don't eat, don't think, don't sleep, just think about killing. That's what they are.
Right. That is what they are, or that's what they've been genetically bred to do. Although we do know that, they have a little bit more to them than that, but they have a code, and some of them are a little more good than others, I'd say. They have some diversity amongst them. But generally speaking, they're just like these scary looking monster kind of guys, shock troops. Quark trying to charm them, but it's to no avail. And then, Kira and Odo are also present here. And, Kira is kind of talking about how she knows Dukat and Damar are just biding their time, basically waiting to not just take over the station more aggressively, but also reoccupy Bajor, eventually open up the labor camps and everything else. But it's an eventual thing, right? And they're kind of just sitting by.
I have a question about how like there's the Vorta and the Jem'Hadar, right? And they mentioned in the episode, whatever. Why is there always like one Vorta, like for like a Jem'Hadar crew or whatever? Like, why isn't there more Vorta like manning or like, I don't know, being science officers or something for the, you know what I mean? Like,
Why are there so few Vorta? I guess is what your question is.
Yes.
Why does it seem Wayun is the only one in the Alpha Quadrant?
Yeah,
he can't be the only one on this station. It's too many. It's too much white for him to hand out, isn't it?
But like even in this bar scene, like why don't they have some Vorta sitting around? Like you know what I mean? Like what are Vorta only like people of superiority, like of higher rank? And you know,
Yes, they're meant to be like the officers or like sort of the overseers. So like every Dominion ship would probably only have one Vorta aboard. You know, the rest.
Yeah,
are
it's so weird though. Like, what's the population difference between the Jem'Hadar and the Vorta? It seems like it's like 98% to 1 to 2.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're the Jem'Hadar are like the grunts and the Vorta are almost the officers in a sense.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, but the Jem'Hadar are very capable in the home cells. They only need the Vorta as sort of like a leash,
as a drug dealer.
As a drug dealer, effectively, yeah. But generally, yeah, because generally we see that the Jem'Hadar are actually more competent than the Vorta, largely speaking. But you know, like there's a moment here where like Odo and Kira are kind of able to smile about certain things, but it's a rough time knowing that their friends are out there, seemingly losing the war to the Dominion, and them not being in a position to do much about it. Although that's what they start to try to do by the end here, right? Quark shows up, gives Kira a big glass of chocolate milk for some reason.
It looked like a mango smoothie to me when I was.
It was something. It was some thick concoction here.
That looks like chocolate almond milk. It doesn't quite look like the real thing.
Yeah. Jeff, we just got. Sam has a question for us. So, and he says,
"What's that?"
I don't know. He didn't pose it yet, and he wanted to let us. This is his favorite Star Trek podcast. Thank you, Sam.
Is it something? Well, let me guess. Is it something to do with Gilligan's Island?
Could be. 3-hour tour. Anyway, so Quark kind of points out that he's as much as bad as it seems, it's not that bad.
I never expected to say this, but as occupations go, this one's not so bad. Look around. Do you see any ghetto fences dividing the promenade? Or exhausted bejeweled slave laborers sprawled on the ground after a grueling day in the ore processing center? Do you hear the cries of starving children? I don't. Now, don't get me wrong. I miss the Federation, too. All I'm saying is...
Things could be a lot worse.
Be a lot worse.
Yeah, things could be a lot worse. I don't know. He kind of has a point, but
I don't think Quark should be bringing up the occupation times though, because he wasn't so great.
No, and he didn't even have to be there. It wasn't like he's not from the Bajoran system, so like his
Right.
place in the
Well,
occupation.
I think he saw cheap labor, right?
Yeah, like we don't really understand the story of how Quark came to be on this station in the first place, but maybe it was just cheap labor, or the bar was cheap or something like that, and he took advantage of it. But he's saying that like but he at least like whether it's Kira, Odo, Quark, they have like this camaraderie that they remember how bad it used to be. They lived through it, right? And so it's better now, but it doesn't seem to make them feel any better because they know it could be a lot better, in conscience.
Well, saying that
I think
during that time, Kira was the only one that had it bad.
For sure, she had the worst. Yeah, absolutely.
I think
she was the only Bajoran.
It's the fear, guys, that the Dominion and the Cardassians will like eradicate Bajor. Like they're friends now, but how long is that going to last? Especially when they know the Cardassians want to like subjugate them. So what is it's like oh, this is World War II basically. It's happening again.
Right.
And it's just right now it's slow moving, and a lot of times in conflicts that's what happens. Things like they've already taken the station, they're right in their backyard, they could take over Bajor whenever they wanted with all the ships and fleets they have right now, but they're not doing it for now because of politics, which is never concrete,
right? So at best it's a delay tactic, right? But like trusting in the Dominion, like Quark is suggesting, or kind of going along with things, is not probably the right thing to do ultimately. So let's go over to the next scene, guys, which was the Defiant arrives at Starbase 137, I think it is. We see it kind of just outside of it here, a smaller starbase. Jaemeel's having some issues tonight. Hey, Jaemeel, are you with us? Okay. We meet for the first time ever, guys. We meet Admiral Bill Ross, who will be kind of a fixture on Deep Space Nine for these next 2 seasons that we're going to cover. But this is actually his first time ever on the show. He's still in the old uniform. He's still in the old Admiral's uniform before they'll update it to the gray tops later on.
He's a changeling.
He's not a changeling.
He's changeling Bashir.
He's not changeling Bashir.
He never died in the sun, Dave. He came back, and now changeling Bashir has turned into changeling Admiral Ross.
No, I don't know about that.
I don't know if you know how numbers work, but
you always have secret admirals and secret changelings.
Admirals.
And every admiral's evil.
Every admiral, not this one. Well, he's a little bit evil. He's in bed with Section 31. We'll find out. But that's not till next season. Yeah. So anyway, so basically, Bill Ross's news here is you're not in command of the Defiant anymore. I'm reassigning you. Right. Here's your new office. He tells them here in this scene. He's like, "Oh, what?" Go to the next scene. Dax is like, "What's where are they sending us? What's happening? Are they keeping us together?" He goes, if I have anything to say about it, which is to say I don't have much to say about it. And Dax also says that, well, maybe this would be a good time for you to call your dad and tell him about Jake. The fact that, he's like, how do I tell him that I got everyone off Deep Space Nine except Jake?
Also, how do I tell him why I waited 3 months to call him?
3 months? Yeah. Yeah. Hasn't sent him a letter or an email in 3 months or anything,
I think it's important, especially with in that conversation with his dad, where he says, like, I go where they send me, or so he says something like that. And I think it's really interesting to see, like, this is the first time we're seeing that Sisko has to listen to, like, the Federation. Like, a lot of times he's out in the wilderness on the station. He's the boss. But now it's like he has no control over his situation anymore.
He's just another Starfleet captain, really.
Yeah.
Without his position with the Bajorans and everything in that system that he has there, like, and he's kind of just another guy, and they're going to send him, depending on what they think they can get from him as a captain. But, like going back and forth, like, how could you not do that?
I just want to go back to that point because, like, with Kirk, for instance, I know it's a different time period and stuff, but like in this whole situation where his son, like, if it was Kirk's son on Deep Space Nine, and they're like, well, you can't go. No, we need you for this very secret mission, and we got to go over here and blow up this Captain So White. Kirk would be like, fuck that. I'm going to get in my Enterprise and go, you know what I mean? And go to the station and get my son. You know what I mean? Like that. Whereas Sisko doesn't do that.
I don't know. Like Kirk's son, David Marcus, I don't know. Like, obviously, it's hard to know what Kirk would really do. Like, yeah, I imagine.
Is it he stole a ship to save Spock?
Yeah, but that was his friend. That's not a kid.
Okay.
So
higher
friends
level.
higher than kids is what you're saying, Dave.
I'm just suggesting it could be.
Good point there, Dave.
Anyway, going back and forth here. But one thing I did like in this whole conversation here between Dad and Sisko was, that you're always telling me how big space is.
There's something I just don't understand. You're always telling me that space is big, that it's an endless frontier filled with infinite wonders.
It's true.
Well, if that's the case, you would think it would be more than enough room to allow people to leave each other alone.
It just doesn't work that way. It should, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Of course it doesn't work that way. We're the Federation. We will keep going through that wormhole, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much until it's too late. Anyway, these two go back and forth a lot. So this is
Would
a
you
fairly
say
long
that?
conversation.
Would you say that, like, yeah, by doing that, Cisco's crew going through the wormhole so much provoked the Dominion War?
You couldn't make that argument, you know.
I think you could, yeah.
Sure. Because that's what the Dominion said. Like, you know, you've been coming through the anomaly, and you're to stop immediately. And Bashir said, "You think we're to stop exploring the Gamma Quadrant just because you told us to?" Well, ultimately, they don't do much exploration of the Gamma Quadrant after they meet the Jem'Hadar, do they?
No,
Like, you know,
they really should have said, "Sorry, we're gonna leave," and then this whole thing could have been averted. All these lives could have been saved. So really, it is Cisco's fault.
No, it's Bashir's fault. We just covered that it was Bashir's fault.
Yeah,
mostly
more
Bashir's fault.
Mostly
you know?
Bashir's fault.
Are you trying to insult me?
Yes.
Anyway, over to this next scene we get here with Wei-Yoon and Jake. You know, let's remember.
This is
Jake.
a good
Jake.
scene.
Jake Sisko, remember me?
It's a really good. It might be the best Jake Sisko scene of the whole show.
Yeah, he says, "Are you sending my my transmissions?" And he was like, "No, I'm not sending them." You know. And what does Wei-Yoon say here?
What about freedom of the press?
Please tell me you're not that naive.
Yes, that was so good. That was the most poignant point that could have been made right there. Like, don't tell me you're that naive. Like, you believe that crap?
Yeah. Do you know who you're dealing with?
Yeah, just like the whole tell me you're not that naive.
Please tell me you're not that naive.
Oh no, I better tell the founders we're not respecting freedom of the press. let's we bow before its majesty. And Jeff, I disagree. This is not the best Jeff. Sorry, not Jake. Jeff. Jake.
Jake's
scene or episode. It's coming up.
Watch it.
It's coming up.
Okay.
Red Squad. Red Squad. Red Squad.
Red Squad's your favorite?
No, yeah, it's this season. That is this season. Yeah, I don't like your articles, Jake. They have negative connotations.
It has a negative connotation.
You know,
this is not an occupation.
He's so good in this episode. Like, all his line deliveries are so on point too with his character, and you know, like, it's just great.
Yeah,
See,
everything with
Wei-Yoon
Jeffrey
went
Combs.
Wei-Yoon went to PR class, so he knows.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No, is it?
He would have been
Kuchimoya.
No, that's a Kuchimoya. I know I have a new one.
Jeffrey Combs would have been good, like, on House of Cards. You know.
Let's see this one.
Answer me, Pinkskin.
That's it. There we go. Different character though. I need like a cheat sheet for my things. Anyway, back to the Starbase with Bill Ross, whatever he's up to.
Bill Ross.
She's not a changeling.
I think he might be.
He's been a changeling all along.
Yeah. Every season just gotta have some.
I don't
changeling.
trust this guy. Every time he's on, I'm like, this guy's not legit.
But you know the end of the story. Like, it's like
I still feel that way. I know the end of the story, but I still feel that way.
Right.
I'm like, I don't believe this guy. I don't believe this guy's an admiral. He's an imposter. That's how I feel every time he's on screen.
You know what? He can't be an admiral because in the end, he doesn't end up evil.
Right. No, not he's like one of the few good admirals, I'd say, out there. Anyway,
That's
so the mission.
Why I feel that he never turns evil, and you know, you have to. That's part of being an admiral.
Yeah.
They're sending them on a mission to destroy the Ketracel White facility where they're storing all the Ketracel White. And without the Ketracel White, the Jem'Hadar will die. Jedzia says she won't shed any tears for the dead Jem'Hadar here. But how are they going to?
They really promote killing, Dave. Throughout this episode, they're like, "Kill is great."
Well,
it's not normal for Star Trek, and so it is. It stands out.
It did when they're talking about the genocide of the Jem'Hadar, and they're like, "Yeah, I wouldn't lose any sleep over that."
They just like the fleet. Like, only 14 ships came back. How many people died from our side?
I'm not judging them. I'm just saying it's weird for Star Trek.
It is weird for Star Trek. The raw military stuff throughout this season is strange. I sometimes I feel like I'm watching Starship Troopers. You know,
I think
like, it has that feel.
Sure, but I think that that Starfleet are not weak. I think that they understand that if you have to be strong against an enemy like the Dominion, you got to take the fight to them, and being all worried about the lives of Jem'Hadar soldiers in this situation is not really a priority. But
there's a difference between fighting an enemy combatant and a genocide. Like, they're all going to die. And just how they don't, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying they don't even give it a moment's thought.
Yeah, their whole plan here to destroy all the Ketracel White is equivalent to like Scorched Earth, where you destroy all the farms so everyone starves to death. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's a Michael Eddington type of approach.
Yes.
I don't know if I agree. Like, I think that it's they're getting desperate here, guys, and they need to do what they need to do to fight back. The Dominion isn't supposed to be here anyway. They've invaded the Alpha Quadrant, and the fact that they are going to be without Ketracel White, which is the only thing keeping them going, I think is fair game. This is all fair in war to attack.
I didn't say it wasn't. I'm just saying nobody thinks about it even for a second. They don't talk about it, or it's just like, yep, good.
Right.
They're all dead. That's awesome. And it's just strange for Star Trek.
Yeah, it is. If this was Picard's ship, there would be a board meeting. They would have a philosophical conversation about it.
Picard wouldn't have taken this mission, probably.
They did this with the Borg, and he couldn't do it.
Right.
That's what the whole episode was about. In this one,
this isn't really a genocide because it would only kill the Jem'Hadar in the Alpha Quadrant, not the ones who are still in the Gamma Quadrant.
Right.
I suppose.
It's an extermination. They're bugs.
I guess.
It's becoming more and more Star Trek.
They're genetically enhanced, engineered super soldiers who only run on a drug. They don't eat, sleep, or have sex, and they're just killing machines. And the only
good bug is a dead bug.
And they're killing the Federation and the Klingon Empire, for that matter, at pretty alarming rates.
But you're just making judgments about their life based on your life.
I am.
Dave, so they're Zemo then.
They're what?
Zemo.
Baron
Zemo.
Baron
Super
Zemo?
soldiers.
Yeah.
Yes, Baron Zemo.
Listen, I don't give a shit if
super
these
soldiers.
Jem'Hadar die because they don't have Ketracel White. Okay? Like, I don't care. And I'm fine with them being happy with it.
You don't got a cheer for the Jem'Hadar?
Not a tear. I'm with Jedzia. Victory
You're
is
with
life.
Jedzia.
I think those Star Trek patches go to your head, Dave.
I guess so. I am not swayed here. And so anyway, they're sending them on a mission because we find out that the captured Jem'Hadar ship that they found was that the beginning of season 4 or 5? I can't remember exactly when.
I think it was season 5.
Beginning of season 5.
Beginning, yeah.
Yeah, because they were still wearing the old uniforms, but it wasn't that long before they changed them over. Yeah, and so the same ship, and now it's not upside down anymore, guys.
Nope.
So they got it here in the bay, and we find out like in the next scene, it's been 2 weeks. We're now 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, because they've been trying to get the ship running for 2 weeks.
Right.
So we're almost like at 4 months later that in terms of what's going on with the end of season 5. But Nog is saying that he's having a hard time with the controls. He just wants a chair And O'Brien, he just wants a sandwich because there's no replicators on board, and the field rations are going to get really tough after a while. Jadzia is just like, why would they build a ship without a view screen or a window? Whereas Bashir is just like saying, hey, you're not going to care about any of that shit when it really comes down to it. Where's my thing here?
But if trouble breaks out, it's not a view screen or a chair or even a sandwich you'll be wanting. It's a biobed with a surgical tissue regenerator.
Maybe. But right now, I would settle for a view screen.
Or a chair.
Or a sandwich.
I thought O'Brien loved rations.
No, anymore.
Something.
When he's talking to Nog, he's like, "Look, Nog, I like to say I like rations, but I just say that.
I just say that to suck up to Cisco. That's the only
Yeah.
time I ever do it. Yeah. Like it's weird to me that Worf's not along for this mission as well. I guess he's off with Martok, but they must have been filming one of the movies at this point.
Yeah.
To have Michael Dorn in this so little, and not on this mission. But so Garrick's coming along because they're going into Cardassian space. They're going, and then we see Cisco wears the headset, the view screen, if you will, which will give him bad headaches here. But we kind of he's like, bring her about, and then like Dax. She's usually a good pilot, but she moves the ship around so hard that they all kind of shake. Just getting out the bugs. Even Garrick gives her like, look. Anyway, let's go. Let's go to warp, and we get to see like going to warp through this kind of display here. Anyway, back to the station, covered in Jem'Hadar and Dominion ships. The scene with Kira and Dukat, where Dukat is like, Major, we're gonna be friends and everything else.
Dukat just sits in there playing with that baseball too.
Yeah,
like that's how he spends his days.
Yeah, just playing with his baseball, but pining for the moment he gets Cisco, right? Because he's like, that's really what he wants, is to prove, and he proved to Kira and to prove to everybody he was the better commander of the station, to best his rival. Kira just she hates this guy so much, and she has to like deal with him. Where he's coming at her here, talking about everything. I haven't dismissed you yet, Major. I'm back here. She gives him a couple things here, but ultimately he's like, why do you hate me so much? Can't we be friends again? And you think I betrayed you, not just me, she says, you betrayed everybody.
Cardassia was on the edge of an abyss, Major. The war with the Klingons left us a third-rate power. My people had lost their way. I've made them strong again.
At what price? You sold Cardassia to the Dominion.
Yes. A high price, to be sure.
A high price, guys.
I love that he admits it there too. Like, yeah, I did that.
But look what it's got us. Like, we're going to be, but like, and it kind of comes down to what he says later in the episode.
Even amongst servants, someone has to be in charge.
Right. So he's willing to accept that the Dominion's more powerful, as long as he gets to be top dog of the Alpha Quadrant species, basically.
I love that right after he says that, the next scene is Odo and Weyoun telling him to shut up.
Yeah.
Because he's talking to Odo.
Yeah, this is between me and Odo. But also what kind of comes up here, is like, she's like, what do you think's going to happen, Bud, that you're going to wear me down with your charm, And he
does think that. He's like, look, we're like 2 weeks away from winning the Alpha Quadrant, and I have you as basically my prisoner. He's also sadistic. So he's going to do whatever he wants.
Even grabs her here.
What do you think is going to happen here, Dukat? That you're going to wear me down with your charming personality? That I'm going to be swept off my feet by that insincere smile? Are you really so deluded that you actually believe that we're going to have some kind of intimate relationship?
Oh, we already
Where is it? Oh yeah, he grabs her by
So
the.
good, right? Like, we already do.
Yeah.
She goes bonkers here. She is so pissed off, right? But he kind of backs off. He kind of knows he's overstepped here a little bit, I think, and he kind of like scurries away.
I
And she
don't think he knows he's overstepped. I think he's playing with his food, like
Yeah.
in this moment.
Yeah,
He's just toying with it.
Yeah.
How
Because
far can you push it?
he has the dominant position over her, especially if the Dominion actually wins, which he expects. He says it in his captain's log or whatever.
Yeah. And then he just goes back to like spinning his baseball or spinning the baseball on the desk. Like you can see that he's already starting to go crazy, even at this point, you know, a little bit. So we go over to the Dominion ship with Cisco and them. You know, we see Cisco getting hyperspray because the headset is giving him really bad headaches, apparently. But Garrick says, like, we saw Ducat wearing this headset. Maybe Cardassians can handle them better. So they hand it over to Garrick to take over. But they have sensors. Like, you don't have to see outside. Like, you can just kind of go with what your console's telling you, which is what the Jem'Hadar do. Anyway, so they're going along here, but then they get attacked by the USS Centaur. Charlie Reynolds. You know, that crazy maverick, Charlie Reynolds, guys.
They never show.
Yeah, well, you think, you know, when you have like a bunch of Starfleet officers taking an enemy ship into territory, that you might brief a couple captains not to shoot them down on the way to do their top secret mission. You know, but they didn't think, they wanted to keep it so secret that they didn't tell anybody, including Charlie. You know,
well, he is a maverick.
He's a maverick. You know, so they're going here. They can't. And the other thing too is the Centaur has no communications. So if you wanted to hail them, you can't. So like they start going here. We don't get a great look at this ship, but it's like a big saucer with these nacelles way out to the sides. Yeah, only a couple of shots. It comes by very quickly. And so at one point they decide, like, first they try to cross the Cardassian border, hoping that they're not going to follow them past the border. They do. And then we need to fight back, or at least take out their weapons or something so they don't kill us. You know? So they shots here. So they do have a little bit of a firefight here between the two of them. And then they're coming around from their pass, but then then the other Dominion ships eventually they run away because they see the other Dominion ships coming. There's 3 other ships. They don't stop to say hello to Cisco and the gang here, though.
Charlie has been in some tough spots before, Dave. He'll pull through.
They're like, I hope you'll be okay. We never really know one way or the other whether Charlie made it or not, or if the Centaur made it.
They also attacked his weapons array.
They did. Yeah. Like, I just think, I think we can blame Bill Ross for this, because I feel like he didn't do a good job running his sector here.
Ross.
Changeling Ross, yeah. He was like, maybe he set them up, Jeff, to be killed by Charlie.
I don't trust him. I don't believe him.
Yeah. Anyway, over here with Kira and Odo, where she's kind of just like venting about everything with Ducat, everything that just happened there. And he's like, I don't know, I come here every day and I just sit in this chair. I do no security work. It's kind of dumb, you know? And she's like, well, why don't we get your deputies back, you know? And she kind of starts planning this idea of here, like, why don't you start working Weyoun, right?
Yeah.
And this will inadvertently set Odo down a path of trying to work, not at first with Weyoun and Ducat, but once the female changeling shows up, then he keeps trying to work information, but he gets caught up in the whole thing of it.
Well, I think that's important, Dave, because Odo's like this whole idea was your idea, Kira, that I need to get in with Weyoun so we can get things, which was a good idea. But then it becomes like Kira knows, like, because once that changing lady shows up, that's the whole thing between Odo, Kira, and that whole storyline, you know? And,
yeah. Right. But she's like, what's the point of having power if you're not willing to use it, right? So anyway, Odo basically agrees. We go to this next scene here where we got Weyoun handing out some Ketracel white guys, the very thing that Cisco and the gang are trying to stop.
We pledge our loyalty to the founders. From now
Then receive
until
this
death.
reward from the founders. May it keep you strong.
Give them their little fix. You can see them. They even get like the little high look as they get their thing. And Ducat's like, you love showing them your boss, right? You love showing them that you're the master.
The founders are the masters. I am merely their servant, as are the Jem'Hadar and you.
Yeah.
Even amongst servants, someone has to be in charge.
And I love Weyoun's response to him when he says that. He's like, that's the type of response that I've come to expect from the likes of you, or so he says something like that, right?
Interesting, yet somewhat petty.
To be called petty by Weyoun, like you got to be bad. Anyway, Odo shows up here with Damar, saying he needs to see him. He's like, I want my Bajor deputies, and he's just like, done, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you should ask for more, Odo.
Yeah.
He should have been like,
I'd
you
like you to
gotta
leave
suck
the
my-"
station.
It should have been like, you should send Jake's articles.
Yeah. Jake's articles. Oh, and by the way, let me in charge of all security and shields and tactical and everything.
Put me in charge of all the Cardassians too, please.
All the Cardassians. I get to
Matter
tell
of fact,
them
I
what to do.
am in charge right now.
Yeah.
How
does that sound?
They gotta clean my desk in my office. The Cardassians twice a day.
Yeah, it's really interesting with the Vorta because like they know that Odo is like this god, but they also know that he's sort of an outcast amongst the changelings, and they're always like trying to navigate this. Anyway,
I feel like Weyoun's working Odo for the female changeling this whole time.
Probably. Absolutely. But he does consider Odo the next best thing to a true founder, right? Like so.
Oh yeah, and the fact that Odo can transform into anything. I mean, I could imagine people on Earth believe in something they can't prove, something that's invisible. If you can actually see somebody turn into anything in front of you, I could see how somebody would believe that's God. Yeah.
Right. He's like, this is between me and Odo. Anyway, so he agrees to this, and then he's like, well, now that I've done something for you, maybe you can do something for me. And this is where he'll agree to join the station's ruling council.
I think that's where you're right, Jeff, that he's working Odo for the founder, because for him to say that to Odo is very presumptuous.
Yeah.
To say that to a god, like, oh, now that I've done something for you, how about you do something for me?
So he was expecting Odo to come ask him for this at some point. Like the female changeling had said. And it's so weird that they never give her a name. We always just call her the female changeling, but that's the best name we have her for.
We can just call her Karen. Give her a name. Karen.
Yeah, she could be a Karen. Yeah. Anyway, so but even when Odo explains this, I'm going to join the ruling council. Like Kira already looks like distraught, already broken up. She already knows this is a bad idea. Like, but she was the one who got him to do this in the first place. Anyway, but he's like, we got this. You and me, right? And she's like, oh yeah, totally. But I guess because she knows Odo's not that reliable when tempted by other things. We have seen that in the past, So, but this is setting up this storyline for the season.
Yeah.
And then over here we see the Dominion ship, the Jem'Hadar ship that Cisco is with and the crew are with. They're watching like the other ship ahead of them in the queue. Get the beam down empty canisters, beam up new ones, and we see the shield guy kind of go up and down.
I have problems with this sequence once the explosion happens.
Okay, we're almost there.
Okay.
But so Cisco calls down to O'Brien. He's putting a bomb in one of the canisters that's going to blow it all up, and everything for 800 kilometers. It's a pretty substantial bomb that they're setting off here. And yeah, so Cisco is like they're kind of going through the motions here, but then like as things are going, they I think Nog says, I hope they don't take a lunch break after we beam the bomb down. But things start to go kind of bad. They put the
They don't eat Nog.
See,
they put the shield up.
Nog cursed him. You don't say stuff like that. Like,
No.
I hope nothing bad happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On a ship, you don't hope or pray.
That's right. Anyway, so we see them put the shield up while they're there, and so they can't get out, or we can punch a hole through, but by the time we do, it's we're going to be dead anyway, right? And so they get this idea that they're going to go to warp, like right at the right moment, right when the bomb goes off,
No,
and they have this
impulse. Full impulse.
put a full impulse at a certain point, and then go to, I guess, warp, or at least
1.3 seconds before the bomb explodes.
right to stay ahead of the shockwave. But the bomb goes off early.
Yeah, they don't do that. That's my whole problem
with the sequence.
Yes, they should have been destroyed. And then, like at the end, Cisco goes, "Way to go, Dax!" It's like, what? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we see it go off here, and then it seemed like when I was watching it today, it seemed like it just happened like maybe a couple seconds sooner than they expected. But they still are able to get away. But the shockwave hits them bad enough that it's going to destroy everything.
They fried their warp core. That was the trade-off. It's like, well, they got through this plot hole, but we have to destroy their warp core.
We have to destroy their warp core. But they're still in one piece, more or less here. And Cisco goes, "How bad?" Bad. I think Garrick says, I don't really know, but how long is it going to take us to get home?
A long time.
I love that everyone looks at Bashir.
8 years, 2 months, and 3 days. Give or take an hour.
Yeah, and that's the end of the episode, guys. As they're in this beat up Dominion ship with no warp drive on a 17-year trip home. But I think that the start of the very next episode is them crash landing, right?
Almost like the SS Minnow.
Almost. And that's the end of A Time to Stand.
It's kind of like Voyager,
Yeah.
Stranded,
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna just sorry guys, I guess I'm on the fun facts, aren't I too? You stand. But you guys like the episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good opening episode. I'm sure at the time, like if I'd seen that big fleet, and I'm like, okay, then you tell me like 90 ships got destroyed, and you don't show me it, like I could see at the time somebody being pissed off. But in retrospect, we know what's coming up, and we know we're going to get some of that anyway. So,
but it's good that we don't see the ships being destroyed, because for the most part, a lot of this war is for the characters involved just sitting around and just hearing it. It's like them sitting by the radio and just hearing, 114 ships went and only like 14 came back. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Details discovered by Dave. Here we go. The original plan for the multi-episode arc, which is them like off of the station, was the initial thinking we would end season 5 on a cliffhanger with the Federation plunged into war, and then we would come back and do a multi-episode arc, and the war would last that long. So they hadn't really intended initially for the war to go to the end of season 7. That wasn't really the plan. That the war was going to be kind of over a little bit sooner, but they eventually extended that. They of the somewhat controversial decision to have a show go semi-serialized. Rick Berman argues, I think the potential for the serialization or near serialization of the show was always there. If you're on a spaceship, as in Voyager or Next Generation or the original series, you have a family of people who go off and meet aliens every week. But Deep Space Nine was conceived as a stationary show. It took place on a space station, and we find ourselves developing dozens of ancillary characters, secondary characters, and recurring characters. And because we remain there, those characters kept coming back. So once you have the tapestry of all those different characters, you had all of these different stories that were kind of weaving in and out. I think it sort of begged for more of a serialized format. And the fact that the Dominion War became such a major part of the last 2 seasons really contributed to the feeling of serialization. I always liked that part of Deep Space Nine, that in contrast to the other show, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Kevin, I know you have to go soon, so just say that if you're on the way out. I'll just give you guys a couple more here. It was important to the writers during the composition of this episode that it not be all about huge space battles, but that there was an element of humanity to it. According to Ira Stephen Bear, we knew that this going into the war, we would make it easy for us to fall into the hero trap, where you concentrate on Star Wars type heroic space battles and stuff like that. But we really wanted to keep the human aspect of the pain of war, so we included a human moment, the concerned father talking to his son with Joseph and Ben earlier on. Of course, Barry Jenner makes his first appearance as Admiral William Ross, not a changeling. After he finished shooting, Ira Stephen Bear took him aside and said, "We've had other admirals on the show. We're glad we found you. Sorry it took 5 years." Bear also says of Jenner, he brings a gravitas to the role, and yet you can see that there's a man behind the uniform. I think that Barry Jenner is one of the most unsung heroes of the show. One of the pieces of the puzzle that might not be the readily apparent to the audience, but he's part of the glue that brings everything together. I think that I like Ross.
I disagree with everything he just said.
I like Bill Ross more than I like Vic Fontaine on the show. And they both kind of get introduced here.
What are you talking about, Pally?
That is a good choice.
Yeah, just on that whole
hey Dave, without Vic Fontaine,
hey Pally,
Dave, without Vic Fontaine, you don't get Kira and Odo together. Without Vic Fontaine, you don't get almost every episode in season 7.
Just the Ezri and Vic Fontaine season.
Yeah.
Just on Sam wants to know, who is Brandon Tartikoff? Brandon Tartikoff, who this episode was dedicated to, the former chairman of Paramount Pictures, died in August 1997, who originally approached Rick Berman about doing a new Star Trek series, and it was his idea to do a stationary show as one on a starship. So that's that. And Ducat's whole captain's log, which is the permanent documentation file, represents the first time when a sort of log is kept by the antagonist. In fact, it is the only time, if one doesn't count the Mirror Universe Maximilian Forrest and Jonathan Archer in the Enterprise episode In a Mirror Darkly.
Yeah, and that's the only other kind of time they did that, but it's so great. They should do that more. It's an awesome
show. It's like a Romulan captain doing that or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or whoever. It doesn't matter.
You like to do that on Lower Decks. I want to hear a Pac-Led.
Yeah.
A Pac-Led log.
This is my log. We are a big, strong ship.
How would turn out like a Klingon doing that, right? Like all the Klingon battles and wars they've had throughout Star Trek. They never did that.
No. Although there was that episode last season with Martok doing engage and all that kind of stuff. So they did a little bit of sort of in the vein of what you're saying, but not quite a log.
Yeah, baby steps, but it's pretty great. Only Space Nine really did this, so it's.
Oh no, but in that episode, I remember Worf does give a log, and he goes, the 5th day of kimchi or something like that, or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he does do one, and it's awesome.
We already know Worf, so it's not necessarily
it's a great device, because you get to get that over narration of what they're doing, and it's great.
Okay, guys, let's go over to ratings and get this episode on the books here. Starting with you, Jeff. What do you want to give it?
I'd give it a 9.3 for me.
9.3. Kevin?
I give this a 9.
A 9 from Kevin. Sorry, Jaemeel, I kind of skipped over you there. Jaemeel?
That's okay. I would say an 8.8.
8.8. Did Gavin give a rating in the comments? He says a DS9 9, but Star Trek 11, so an average of 10. Okay.
So it's a 9.
All right. Yeah.
Last week I give it a 10 to last week as well.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't get your rating last week.
Yeah, I give it a 10 as well.
Wow,
I think that's the first one. That's
first time we've had a perfect 10s across the board. Wow. So Call to Arms, one of the greatest episodes ever done. And this is up there. So
I think we'll all do the same for Pale Moonlight. So I feel like those two episodes
very likely, yeah,
are going to
maybe even Far Beyond the Stars.
Because we finished season 4 with an 8.6, and it'll be interesting to see if that number holds. Like if season 6 surpasses that or is below that once we go through all the 26 episodes.
I think by the end of this season, we're gonna have like 3 or 4 episodes that have perfect scores.
Yeah, I think you're not wrong. So same guy directed this episode is directed the season 5 finale, Alan Croker. A lot of Ira Stephen Bear coming up in these last few seasons. A lot of his writing here in particular, and we're now in 2374. If you didn't know. All right, so and this was 97. So what is this, like 25 years ago? Right, so almost exactly. Because this came out in September of 97. So if I'm doing my math right,
25 years. Yeah, it's like when Diana died. It's around that time.
Right around that time, 25 years, almost to the week. So the episode that comes after this, guys, is called, what is it called? Memory Alpha is like becomes so slow. It's like it's got so many ads on it now that it's just like it's not a reliable site. No, that's not it. Guys, Jeff, what comes after this episode?
Oh,
it's called Rocks and Shoals. That's what it's called.
Yeah, that's it.
Rocks and Shoals. That's where they crash on that planet, and there's like that schemy Vorta guy who sells them out. Who was, I think, also in the Enterprise episode we talked about last night. He was like one of the Andorians.
That's a good episode of DS9. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Vorta's hurt, and he's like sending his Jem'Hadar out, and he's got their drugs, and he's holding them.
Yeah, but he knows he doesn't have enough of it to get through it, right? So he knows.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's Kevon.
Kevon, that's it. Yeah, and he's like the slimiest Vorta, even for a Vorta. So it's
slimier than Weyoun,
and slimier than Weyoun. Yeah,
and Weyoun 4, and Weyoun 7,
and we see a return of Kevon in the one where the Ferengi take him.
Right. Yeah, the magnificent Ferengi. They take him over. They get him killed, as I recall too. Yeah. But there's also that woman Vorta we met like in the ship, right? When that's the same ship that they're using now.
Yep.
We never saw her again, but I liked her a lot. I thought she was really good in that role, and she was one of the more interesting. Vortas.
There was something in the fun fact, Dave, of that episode that they wanted to bring her back, but she left to go do something else, or I forget what it was, but there was something that she left and they couldn't use her anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, if they could have, they would have been good. Okay, so I think that's it for A Time to Stand, guys. I think we can wrap this up. Thanks for being with us tonight. 9.2 average rating. So pretty good one. Rocks and Shoals coming up next. Also check out Monday nights. We're talking about Star Trek Enterprise, going through episode by episode. Kevin, Jody, and Adam, and Davin, and I. What was the one we did last night? It was called Ceasefire. So we're into season 2 now. Episode 16 will come up next week. Check that out Mondays. This Thursday, we're talking about the next edition of Star Trek. It's been a long road. But we're almost halfway through Enterprise, if you can believe it. We got Star Trek Lower Decks coming up on Thursday, guys. We'll be on around 7:30 p.m. I'll be on with Chris Murphy and Davin Scalhorn talking about episode 4 of Star Trek Lower Decks season 3, which is titled Room for Growth. Yeah, have you guys seen season 3 yet of Lower Decks?
I've not watched any of it. Yeah. I have
have.
3 watch. I got 3 weeks coming up, so maybe that's when I watch.
Well, hope you will. It's been a good season so far. I think it's only going to get better. Also, check out this Saturday night. We're doing our next edition of Star Trek Radio Theater, guys. We're doing the original series episode, "The Way to Eden," with Davin Skellhorn playing Adam, the space hippie. I think it's going to be great.
Gonna live, not die. Gonna live, not die.
Anyway, you're going to hear that in Davin's voice coming up this week. Kevin Millard playing Kirk. I'll be playing Sulu and a few others. And Chris Murphy playing Spock for the first time ever. So it's going to be good. So there's a comment there?
Nope.
Okay, and then also you should, on the United Federation of Podcasts and our ongoing network here, you should also check out Trivial Debates this Sunday, coming up with Davin hosting. We're going to be at actually going to be at 10:30. We'll just push that ahead a little bit. Davin hosting, Chris Seymour, Eamon Mader, and Mott Tyrell competing in a music themed episode. Jeff, excited?
I don't think there's 3 more wild card Trivial Debaters that you could have put together than those 3.
And a more wild card host.
He's definitely a wild card host.
Yeah. So this who you got a prediction for the winner?
It's never Chris. So not him. It'll be a tough battle. It'll be a tough battle between Eamon and Mott. I'm gonna go Eamon because I think Mott will overtalk.
Probably we will hold him to his time limits. We got some musical themed questions coming up on Trivial Debates this Sunday, September 18th, live, or you can listen to it afterwards. And Super Mader Brothers Podcasting, our ongoing channel and thing where we're talking about a lot of reality TV shows. We got Survivor coming up next week, but Big Brother 24 is in its final 2 weeks, guys. If you can believe it, we've been going for 12 weeks or 11 weeks on that show, 3 times a week, Sundays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
They gotta change that show, Dave. They gotta end that show at Labor Day. Labor Day, it's over. That's the end.
I can't believe they're still going. I can't believe there's 2 more weeks to get 4 people down to 1.
They go to the end of September now. It's nuts.
It shouldn't be overlapping with Survivor. That's for sure.
No.
It should be done this week, really. At the latest, and so, but we got still 2 weeks left. So anyway, so Big Brother, check out our enthusiastic coverage of Big Brother and how much we love doing it, as well as Survivor. We got the draft order set, so we'll probably be doing a cast preview on Survivor in the next sometime between now and next Wednesday. So we'll have to kind of fit that in somewhere along the way too. But no Canadians, Jeff, on the Survivor cast this year. Canadians won 2 seasons in a row, and they said no more.
We're undefeated.
It was just like when the Jays won the World Series back to back, and they said we can't let the Expos win.
No, we gotta have a strike.
Yeah, we have a strike. It's just like that. So that's great. We got all different things coming up. Of course, the Hellbound podcast with Alex Blackburn, Michael Chan, as well as Let's Talk About Fighting Games with Eamon Mader. And check out Davin's podcast, Sam Jerka. Also check out X-Rated. X-Men the Animated Series rewatch series with Davin and Andre every Tuesday, which I guess is competing with. It's kind of weird because we're competing with that show in some ways. They're on the same night as us, so I don't know.
We're not competing with them.
They might be taking people away from our audience.
Sam was here to watch us, Dave.
Sam was here, and then he might have gone to go see the X-Rated podcast.
No, Sam sticks around. He likes us.
Yeah. Well, we like you too, Sam. All right. Well, thanks for being with us, guys. Thanks for everything tonight. Any requests on the quote to go out on here? Otherwise,
can you give me some Ducat being creepy?
Sure. All right. We'll go with this one. All right. Here we go.
What do you think is going to happen here, Ducat? That you're going to wear me down with your charming personality? That I'm going to be swept off my feet by that insincere smile? Are you really so deluded that you actually believe that we're going to have some kind of intimate relationship?
Oh, we already do. I'm a patient man.
Enjoyed your company as always, but it appears it is time we said goodbye.
Good night.